What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. So I recently dropped a video where I did a 300 round update post Sear modification on this Sig P320 carry in 9mm police trade-in that I got from AIM Surplus. Now, I've done several videos of this. I think I'm going to start a playlist and put it down, but I'll definitely put links to the previous videos where I explained that this thing was dirt cheap. It was like a little over $300 or whatever. And I specifically bought it to do the Sear modification where you cut the tail off the Sear. Now, again, I must state, Sig does not endorse this. I do not endorse this. I do not recommend this. It's just it's T&E, my own personal curiosity, test and evaluation of this gun. That's why I bought it. So the comments were, first, some of the comments were, you didn't test anything. It's just the same as it was before. Okay, well, that was one of the points. I fired in the previous videos, again, link in the description below, maybe a playlist. Check out if there's a playlist on the channel. In the previous videos, I went out, I took it out, I fired it straight out of the box as it came from AIM Surplus to make sure it worked. It did. It functioned flawlessly. I went in, I did the modification, came back out, and shot like another 50 rounds, worked perfectly. But I wanted to up the round count. So off camera, I shot, I think, another 200 rounds, 200 rounds. And then I said for the 300 round update, I will film those last 50 rounds to put it to 300. That test was to show to me, and for those of you that are interested, that it still functions flawlessly. Nothing was negatively affected or positively affected. It was the same in the modification. So we know that it didn't affect the pistol negatively or positively by cutting off that tail. The other comments were, well, now it's not drop safe. That's a drop safety. Hit it with a hammer, drop it, throw it, do all stuff. And we're going to do that in this video. My plan is to take it out and drop it at all the available angles. Probably, I'm looking at trying to drop it 25 times. So what I'll do is I'll drop it 25 times like this, which apparently is its most vulnerable, where it would go off in previous videos. If you haven't saw them years ago, post drop safe modification, this was years ago, maybe 10 now. This was the most vulnerable angle. People were dropping it on carpet and it was not drop safe and would go off. So we're gonna drop it like that. We're gonna drop it on each side. We'll drop it on the muzzle. We'll drop it on the grip, and we'll drop it on the top, 25 times each. That's my plan. I also found my dead blow hammer, and I will strike the back. I'm going to put, the way we're gonna do this is I'm going to get a primed 9mm case, put it in the gun, and then we'll do the test. Now, there was a couple things I did do to this gun after I modified the Sear. I had no idea, and I'll roll pictures in of the old Sear and the new Sear, okay? And it's my understanding that the reason they were having drop safety issues is the trigger had too much mass, which is why if you'll see guns like Glocks, any of the ones that have that trigger dingus in the middle, that's what stops. That is an inertial drop safety. It prevents the trigger from falling backwards and initiating, dropping the Sear and initiating the firing sequence. What Sig chose to do was lighten this part, okay? They lightened this part, they lightened the Sear and change it. And I'll put a picture right here, old and new Sear. They specifically said in the video that they lightened the Sear to lower the mass so it wouldn't tend to want to jump down and release the striker. But they added the tail on there, all right? The 365, which was developed after the 320, here it is right here. I'll put a picture of, if I can find it, of its Sear right here. It doesn't have that tail and stuff. Why? Why doesn't it have that tail? So I was watching a video, by the channel 3 P320s in a trench coat, and there's some other channels that have done it now too, that contends that tail's not necessary. And after watching his video and after trying it, I tend to agree with him that it is not necessary. It does not aid in drop safety. All it did was tie the trigger thing in and sympathetically move the striker safety into position while allowing the striker to go forward. If the Sear, for some reason, independently dropped and released the striker safety also popped up and allowed and disengaged the striker safety. So if a rock got back in there, if it was dropped, if it was perched on the thing, whatever, excuse me, dang, it was releasing the safety. Now the striker safety lever, disconnect lever, is not slaved to the Sear. That was the point of the modification. But people were convinced that it made it, now that it's not drop safe. My contention is, I believe, and we're going to find out, maybe you're right, maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm right, maybe you guys are wrong, that left those comments, it doesn't matter because they lightened the Sear, they lightened the trigger, they did all that kind of stuff. Now, I'm going to roll in a picture, if I can find it. I took a picture. One thing I wanted to do for this test, in between this test, was change out the springs in this gun. So I changed the trigger bar spring, or whatever, I think it's this one, to a, now this is not the package, this is to ISMI plus 10% power spring. And I'll show you, I'll take the FCU out here and show you why I did that. I also changed out the Sear springs. I'm going to try to roll in a detailed picture. Because it was a police trade-in, and because this one was made early on, this is an early pistol, this is a 58A. So I don't know exactly when that is, but it's an early pistol. God knows when the springs have been updated in this gun. So I bought some new, as I showed you right here, I bought some new striker springs. These are OEM load. They're not overload or anything. OEM from ISMI. These are great springs, by the way. I use these for years in competition, and they make fantastic springs. They're chrome silicon springs. So that's something you should do in every handgun is put new springs in every, 3, 4, 5, 10,000 rounds, whatever. But the guns deserve new springs because the springs will wear out. So let me take this apart right quick. I could not find a new striker spring online where I was looking. So I'll have to keep looking for that. I do want to change out the striker spring. Now, let me show you. So, as you can see right there, this trigger bar spring is plus 10%. Here's the original. And it's probably really old, so it's probably even less power. What this does, if you notice, when you pull the trigger back on this, right, you're pulling the lever forward. It's hinged right here. You're pulling the trigger back. It's pushing the lever forward to activate the Sear and all kinds of, now it's not going to because it's down in the disconnect mode, but it activates, you're pulling this lever forward, which pushes on a hinge down here, tipping that Sear down. This spring is keeping that bar that way, plus 10%. It's keeping it from moving forward to help actuate the Sear. So that's a benefit that should help in drop safety. Also, I put the new Sear springs in. 2 brand new Sear springs. And when you see the picture, again, I'll roll it in here. The set that these two, let me show you right here. I don't know if it's even going to come. The set that these two little springs took, one you can see is, look at how it was twisted when I got it out of the thing. It's kinked and twisted. Now these aren't lined up perfectly, but if you just look at these two, I know they're coming through. This one is kinked and twisted. See the kink? And that came out of the gun like that. I was like, oh man. So I'm glad I put new springs in it. I don't think it needs a new recoil spring. That doesn't do anything for the safety stuff. And again, I stated I could not find a new safety spring yet, but I plan on replacing that too. So with the new Sear springs and the plus 10%, whatever that lever is, spring, it should also help in the drop safety. Because remember, the theory was that when the pistol would hit on the back, this trigger would move. What's it doing? The trigger would move down because it's a lot like, you see those crash test dummy videos where the car hits the wall, but the person or the dummy continues to move forward? That's inertia. This is the same thing. Because it's not connected as one piece, when it would hit this trigger, when the old ones that were heavy would move back enough, see the bar moving, to drop the Sear out of the way, push the firing pin and have it go off. This 10% helps keep that bar that way. The light trigger, That's one way to overcome it. Most people use, or most companies use the trigger dingus thing, which I still think an aftermarket company would be smart to make one of these with a little trigger dingus on a. It would, by lightening it though, it would help prevent it maybe move a little bit instead of all the way back, carrying its weight with it. And then they lightened the Sear, okay? But like my contention is, by cutting the tail off, I even further lightened the Sear. So, but we're gonna see. You may be right, I may be wrong, or vice versa. But with those new spring upgrades, or they're not even really upgrades, they're just spring replacement, the plus 10% one might be. With those changes to the gun, put this back in, we are going to see if it is drop safe. So let's go out. Let's see, did I forget anything? I don't think so. Let's go out, but that's where some of the people are saying, you're stupid, and all that. Listen, again, if I did not say this before, I might not have, okay? Sig Sauer does not authorize this modification. This is a personal modification I did on my personal firearm that I purchased with my money. Sig does not endorse it. Nobody else endorses it. No company, no channels endorses. I do not endorse this. I did this on my own free will on my own gun. I do not carry this gun. This gun is not a home defense gun or anything like that. Okay, this was specifically purchased as a test gun for this theory to see if it works. And we're going to try to ring it out outside. Now, I'm not going to drop it on concrete. I don't destroy my things indiscriminately. I don't do that. I'm not going to destroy it. We will probably, my idea is that I'm going to go outside on the range and try to find a piece of wood or something. Because remember, from the videos back in the day, and if I could find some, there was Legally Armed America. He hit it with a hammer. He had a live round in it at a range, hit it with a dead blow, and it went off. But there was another one where, several more, where people had dropped them in their house on the carpet and they even went off. So I think out on the range on a piece of wood, because again, I don't want to destroy my gun. I don't want to beat it up. I'm not going to drop it on concrete and stuff. This thing right here. I'm not going to drop it on concrete. So we're going to drop it on a piece of wood all those ways, and then I'll hit it with the hammer and see if it goes off. And then I'll probably fire some live ammo out of it at the end of the test. So let's go outside and just start testing this sucker, man. Okay, folks, drop test portion of this review. We have our Sig Sauer P320 carry chambered in 9mm with the modified Sear, where I cut the tail off. It's a modification I do not recommend you do. I do not endorse it. I did it to my personal gun. I take personal responsibility for this modification. Sig does not endorse this. No company associated with any aftermarket parts or anybody endorses this. So don't do it, okay? But the reason we are out here, as stated before, is a lot of comments in the videos that I posted about this. Like there was a 300 round update and people were like, you didn't show nothing. Well, the purpose of showing that video was, in a previous video, I fired this gun right out of the box unmodified. Right when I picked it up, I should say, unmodified. It worked fine. I wanted to show you that it would continue to work fine so far through 300 rounds with the modification. So it did not change the reliability of the gun whatsoever for that modification. However, people were saying it's not drop safe. Now it's not, uncommanded discharge safe, whatever. I disagree. I think it is. I think it's a viable modification, given that the old Sear didn't have that on there. But we're about to find out. And again, not all. What's this idea that engineers are infallible, right? Like they're humans too. How many tragic engineering disasters and failures have we had throughout human history, where these engineers, not disparaging engineers, they're wicked smart dudes. But sometimes folks make mistakes. Sometimes things can be over-engineered, under-engineered, wrong. This is why they do rolling changes, Mark 1s, 2s, 3s, A1s, A2s in the firearms, realm. But what we're going to do is I'm going to fire 5 rounds of live ammo out of this to show you that it still works, that we are working with a functional firearm. Then I have some primed cases in here, all right? I am going to insert a primed case. I got 4 of them out here just in case I need more than one, but I probably won't. They are primed. There is no projectile or powder in them. I'm going to insert a prime case in this gun, and I'm going to drop test it several different ways. We're going to drop test it, obviously, with the slide close stuff, but we're going to drop test it at the most vulnerable angle, which was at like 33 1/3 degree, whatever, and try to hit it right there. Maybe we'll do it on the top, the sides. We'll do it several different ways, okay? And you see that piece of wood over there? That's what we're going to use, but I'm going to take this. Hold on one sec. Let me set this down. I got one of my armored plates, okay? I'm going to go over here. I'm going to set it down. And I'm out here a day after filming the inside portion because we had a wicked rainstorm right after I filmed. We've had actually a couple of days of like really wicked rainstorms. You might be able to see it on the ground. So I also want to do some things. The reason I want to film it out here is because I want to do some things also that we can't do in like the garage where there's a concrete pad. Speaking of concrete pads, I know, okay, for the people that are like, the NATO test is 6 feet in the air, which I'm about 6 feet, so I'll hold it out about head height on a concrete pad. Listen, I am not trying to do this to destroy the gun. I don't have grand thumb money. I don't have large YouTube money where I can just replace staccatos if I drop test, you know, I drop them on concrete and all that kind of stuff. If somebody out there wants to complain about that, you want to send me your 320, I'll take the Sear out of mine, put it in your gun, and I'll throw it on concrete, and we'll do it that way. I'm not out here to destroy the gun, but I do want to kind of replicate something viable. So I think that armor plate covered by the wood is there just so I don't damage the pistol. It'll help accept some of the shock a little bit. Then, because other people were like, hit it with a hammer. Okay, I found my dead blow. Okay, this is a 2-pound dead blow hammer. We're going to hit it with the dead blow. So let's get started. I forgot my ears, so hang on one sec. I'll be right back. All right, got my ears. Let me grab some ammo. Sorry for this. I don't want to, you know, cut anything and have people be like, you cut it, you're trying to trick us. Okay, I'm curious to see. Listen, you guys might be right. For the folks out there that said, it's no longer drop safe, you might be correct. I'm as curious as you are to find out if it is drop safe. Now, put my ears in, and we're going to fire our live ammunition, 5 rounds, 115 grain, 9mm Winchester white box, graciously provided by Mark at Browne Works Inc. Custom grip manufacturer. Link in the description below. Go check them out. It makes amazing stuff. So we're going to function test this gun. All right, 5 rounds. We got lockback. Everything functions perfectly. Now let me grab a primed case. All right, we'll use one of the nickel ones. As you can see, primed, no indentation on the primer. We're going to place it in there. Let me try to get this sucker not backwards. All right, we're going to place it in there. This is tough to do on camera, but again, I don't want nobody going, you're trying to trick us. There it is, primed case in the chamber. Okay, now we're going to do the drop test, and we'll do some other things, and then the hammer test, and then we'll test fire again. Let's see if we can get this sucker to go off. Right, I'm going to do it. I think in the video I said 25 times. That might be a little excessive on here. I'll do it. We'll just do it a bunch and see what happens. All right, 6 feet eye length. All right, now we're going to get it in the dirt. That one was more sideways. Let me fix this. Now this is at the most vulnerable angle where, if you remember, it was going off on carpet. There are videos on YouTube where people dropped it at this angle and it was going off on carpet. All right, it's still not going off so far. I've now have officially lost count of how many times that is. When we go back and watch it, you guys will know. All right, we keep doing it. All right, let's try sideways. Let's try this sideways. Let's try muzzle. All right, let's try grip. All right, let's try the backside again. And backside again. And did we try this side? Let's try this side. Wow, jeez. So far, nothing. All right. Let's see here. Getting a little dusty. All right. Let's try it a couple more times this way. All right, let's try it this way. Okay, must have hit on the slide and cocked it back. I will walk it all the way over here so we can see, but we did not hear a bang. So we're going to do that again. It's got a little foxtail in it right there. Take that out. As you can see, it is out of battery. There we go. I'm going to open it up. Catch the case. Not even a mark on there. So it obviously did not go off. Oh, it's getting gritty. I hope it'll still function at the end. But let's try that one more time. This time I'll use the grip of the gun and throw it. Okay. I didn't hear it go bang. Let's, my shoulder hurts too. This is the one I had surgery on. So let me just throw it up in the air. Whoa, stepped in a hole there. Let me just throw it straight up in the air. That might be off camera. Oh well. Let me do it again. Let me see if I can get it on camera this time. Okay. Still has not gone off. Covered in foxtails. Our casing's still in there. There's shit jammed all in the back. All right. Now I have multiple cases. Okay. So we're going to see. It's hot out here and I'm fat. So we're going to see if it will ignite the primer in this case. Now, again, let me take the mag out because there's some kind of schmutz in there with the mag button. Now, I brought out multiple cases. We'll see if we can ignite the primer on this one to prove that it did not go off out there and it's not like we didn't hear it. Okay? So, you saw me pull the trigger. You saw it ignite the primer. Let me get a different one. This one is a brass one. Okay? Again, primer. Not detonated. We're going to put that in there. Oh, my camera's starting to overheat. All right? So you saw how much I threw it and stuff. Now, let's hit it with a hammer. 2-pound sledge. Dead blow, by the way. This is a dead blow, so it's imparting all the force. You're not getting any real bounce off of it. So if we were going to get an ignition off of the... And in that test where I just ignited the primer on the primed case, that proved that the striker did not slip off the modified Sear and was saved by the trigger safety. Okay? I don't know how many times we're going to hit this. I don't know how many times you want me to keep doing it. I don't. Okay. Not even a dent on it. All right. Not even a dent. Let's throw it one more time. Ugh. Again, I can't not throw that far. My shoulder was wrecked in a motorcycle accident. And where's this gun? Okay. We have got more foxtails in the rear end of the gun. I'm going to walk over and show you guys. Look at all the, let me pull that out. Yuck. All right. All right. To prove again that the striker did not slip off the modified Sear and is only being saved by the striker safety, we will pull the trigger. We ignited the primed case, as you can see. So, one more primed case. So for everybody, hit it with the hammer. Do the drop test. I think I did the throw it in the field test pretty good. We got another primed case in there. There you can see it. And we'll drop it a couple more times over here. And then we'll leave this poor girl alone. All right. Still nothing. I'll do it 5 times. Well, that one put it out of battery. Uh-oh, there we go. I think it got some sand in there. It's 3, I think. Oh, I got foxtails all in my shoes. All right. So, I'm pretty happy with the way this has turned out. Let's see. Again, we're going to test it. There you go. Now, it's got a lot of sand in it. It's mostly sand out here. And, oh, let me get 5 more rounds. Hang on one sec. All right. We have 5 rounds. Oh, in case I didn't show you, it's the same 115 grain Winchester. Let me put my Hearing Pro in. Now, I hope it works because it is pretty sandy and that might cause it to malfunction. But here we go. Now, for me, I know some people are like, you didn't do the NATO test on concrete. Again, I am not, my point is not to destroy this gun. I bought this gun specifically to test the Sear modification, cutting the tail off. So far, I am 100% convinced that it works. I don't see that this pistol is any less drop safe. I think that's bunk. I think, as I think I touched on in the tabletop portion where I explained, whereas the SIG engineer said they lightened the trigger, they had a lighten Sear, they further lightened the Sear and added the tail. I'm not sure that the tail was necessary. I am convinced that this gun, after doing this test right here, this has convinced me that it's drop safe. So, you know, and then as I discussed, I added the 10% plus trigger bar screen. I got to go in and clean it now. It's all sandy and stuff. But as far as this particular, again, I'm not saying it's good for your pistol. I'm not saying it's good for you. I'm not saying, again, I'm saying SIG does not endorse this. But what I'm saying is, based on this right here, I mean, how much farther do you want me to throw it? How much more times do you want me to drop it? How many times do you want me to hit it with a hammer before I just destroy the gun? To me, this convinced me that the modification of cutting that tail off of the Sear, not only does it uncouple the striker safety disconnect lever from the Sear if it's moved independently, okay, foxtails. That right there, if we can see it, I'm trying to see, my camera is real dim because of the heat out here, is the striker safety disconnect lever. By doing that modification, you have uncoupled, as shown inside and on the previous videos, which I'll link down below, you have it was slaved. The old way with that tail made it slave to the Sear. So it took care of that. So if the Sear moves independently, assuming you have a fully functioning striker safety disconnect lever, you'll be fine. And if anything, if they said before, because they lightened the Sear to prevent it from having a lot of mass and tripping, I just lightened it further by taking the leg off. To me, this is a viable modification for me and for this gun. Again, not endorsing for you to do it. Please don't try it at home. Sig does not endorse this. Nobody else does. So let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Thanks for watching. We will see you next time.